Corruption is so bad in Nigeria that you cannot defend anybody and you cannot trust anybody.
Corruption is not about embezzling money. Selfish interest is also corruption. When you have a selfish interest against your nation, it's corruption.
That doesn't change the Nigerian in us. Are you hearing me?
They gave us cars. And when they gave us cars, I refused it. Otherwise, I won't get a house in Bodija Estate.
What's the problem with the Southerner becoming the chairman of Nigeria?
I don't know. We have problems.
My brother, your guess is as good as mine. I've always been asking this question.
Are you saying that government is not doing well in regards to the policy?
No, they are doing very well.
There's no way we can look at women and children issues without even looking at discussing with the men.
Tackles only on OSVC. Hello viewers, you're welcome to Tackles today on OSVC TV. My name is Adebiyi. Of course, on this program we look at issues from the politics to politics, how it affects people and everyone in this country, but national and international, that's the case may be. Today my guest on this program, of course, is into construction, but someone that knows very much about what is going on in Nigeria. I'm talking about Mr. Segun Adebiyi, the MD of Adebiyi Construction. How are you?
Very fine, thank you.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, as a Nigerian, I wanted to just look at some things that are going on as it affects the polity. Most especially, we're looking at the economy. That is one thing area that everyone's been complaining about, in the country recently. And not forgetting, I want to take into cognizance the statement that the Minister of Finance made recently, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and said that Nigeria is technically in recession. The word technical has been made use of in recent times. Remember in January, the federal government says we have technically defeated Boko Haram, but they are still very much hanging around. The same thing is coming up right now in the as far as recession is concerned. How should we look at it, with the statement she made?
I think there's nothing technical about recession. Nigeria is in a recession already.
Yeah.
And I believe most people are very conversant with economic policies, fiscal policies, and the way policies of government work. We know that a country is in recession when you have some negative indices for 3 consecutive months.
Yeah.
We achieved that in June. So, I don't see anything technical about the recession we are in.
So we're basically
in recession.
But one way or the other, we need to find a way out of all these things, And just recently, dollar to a naira now is about 377. Yeah. These are just very bad signs, if I must put it in that way. What are the ways are you looking at it as someone that is into construction? There will be some ways that you are also affected with regards to all of these things.
Oh, definitely, because if you remember very vividly, since July, August 2015. The current federal government just assumed office.
Yeah.
Majority of proponents of devaluation were seen as enemies of progress in the country. Whereas a country devalues its currency when the quality and value of FDIs you normally get to the country is on a decline. And this trend started around July last year.
Yeah.
Whereby, let me give you an hypothetical example. I have $10,000 outside the country, and I want to come and invest in the country. And the government is saying, no, you can't bring the money in cash, neither can you send a courier or something, you have to come through the bank. The disparity between the official FX rates and the parallel markets is the widest in the history of the country. In fact, at the point, it was almost double, because dollar was about 400 naira and above at a particular point.
Yeah.
So in this kind of scenario, if I'm bringing my $10,000 through the bank, the CBN is telling me it's going to change my money for me at 197. It gives me 1,970,000.
Yeah.
I finished doing my business and I want to repatriate my funds back to wherever I bought those funds from. And then I have to repatriate them at the parallel market rate, which is $400. So I don't see any business you can do that will give you 100% return in this kind of situation. However, the government came on June 20 and said they have, this accounted because of the delay and the procrastination, accounted for the depletion of our foreign reserves, because the major import item we do in Nigeria is PMS. It's not even, I'm talking of PMS now, not EGO, not DPK.
Yeah.
So foreign reserves is basically for balance of trade. Majority of people think any president or government can easily go into our foreign reserves account and make withdrawals. No. So this disparity actually drained our foreign reserves by about 7 billion in just a year. Before the government now realized, hey, there's a limit to which we can peg these naira rates at 197. So June 20, there was a floating exchange policy, whatever. My own opinion at that time when they launched that particular policy was, it's either you devalue or you don't devalue. Because after the floating exchange policy was launched, the dollar was pegged at 285 naira or thereabouts. And the CBN governor was like, okay, over time, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, he was looking at a value of 250 after so much trade.
Coming down.
But don't also forget that there were a lot of requests hanging in CBN over a particular period of time. That's what the federal government first settled. We call them forward contractual cases, and then right now we don't even have the foreign exchange, which accounted for why the government said it has finally freed the naira. Now, it was done sometime last year. The ripple effects, the up and down of the currency rates and all that will have subsided, and things will have balanced. So, as it is now, we have to wait for, God knows how long before things stabilize.
Before we can do that, and unfortunately, the way things, everything seems to be going, with regards to that, the Minister of Finance also mentioned that by the time we get into the third quarter of the year, that the country might have to borrow.
Definitely.
This is something we've been trying to run away from. Borrowing. What does that really spell for the country at this time?
We've always been borrowing. The government has always, in the past administration, was borrowing to pay even salaries of federal civil servants. And the current administration has also been borrowing to augment what they are paying the civil servants. So if this trend continues, you don't need a suit here to tell you the problem keeps degenerating. You understand? So, and then another thing we failed to look at when Mr. President returned from China some time ago, there was so much fanfare about currency swap deal and all that. All of a sudden, nobody had anything about that particular deal again. So these are questions I think we should begin to, yes, we don't want America and Britain to be our sole partners on the economy. We want China and all that, but what steps
are we taking?
I remember the trip the president made to Qatar. In Qatar, the Qatari government was like, get us a substantive ambassador of Nigeria to Qatar who we can relate with in investing in areas such as aviation, oil, agriculture and all that. But hey, this is 14 months and then we still don't have an ambassador to Qatar. So I believe if all these things are perfectly followed up, things may rebound, as the Minister of Finance said. But I don't see it happening in the third quarter. We're already in the third quarter of 2016.
Okay, well, there's so much talk about in economy, and we need to find a way that, because if there is anything at all that people are complaining about, Nigerians need to feed. I even got a story from the presidency just recently that Nigerians are hungry. And no doubt a country that cannot feed cannot feed its citizens. It's not what to be called, what is expected to be of a country. But we want to believe that things are probably going to, we have to find a way around it. But talking about the China deal that you mentioned, I think the federal government mentioned that China is actually coming, first of all, to invest basically into infrastructure. I think maybe that's why we have probably not been seeing some things. When it has to do with infrastructure, a lot of things will have to still be put in place.
No, I don't. I think both things should work, hand in hand. Okay. Like, for instance, the war against the anti-corruption crusade of Mr. President is a laudable idea. It's okay. Nigerians are happy. At least people can now sit before they steal public funds and say, hey, if I'm caught, there's a consequence I'm going to face if the government takes me to court or something. However, we should not majorly concentrate on the anti-corruption crusade and lose focus of the economy. Lately, the former president of Nigeria, Segun told the current federal government that we've paid lip service to agriculture for so long, which is the truth. Agriculture is not rocket science. Everybody can engage in agriculture, even at their backyards and do all that. But successive governments since 1999, even including President Obasanjo, is farmer, paid only lip service to agriculture. And then most of the food crops that we have in this country are coming from the north. particularly from the northeast, where most of the villages are war ravaged. In as much as we appreciate the war against Boko Haram in the northeast, I think the resettling angle too should be given a very serious attention, so that at least we can increase food. If a tuber of yam in Lagos today is about 800 to 1,000 naira. So I don't know what it goes for here in Osun, but in Lagos, you want a good tuber of yam, you have to cover 800 to 1,000 naira. The purchasing power is not there. And that's why the government is saying Nigerians are hungry. So how do we build on that purchasing power to make sure that at least the common man has a kind of feel of what the government is doing? The anti-corruption war at a point will get so boring that people will not be interested. You understand? If a very good attention is not focused on the economy. Most companies are dead. Let me give you another scenario. Since July last year, when the dollar in the parallel market was 400 naira and it was 197 by the CBN. Now, I have a shop in Edumagu. You have a shop just beside me. Because I have access to a government official, my brother is in government or something, I'm able to access majority of the foreign exchange I need for my raw materials at 197. I will do the same business. You only have access to your foreign exchange at the parallel. You can't compete in business with me. It's very logical. So I mean, that's why most of us said, look, you can't peg the let's run a free market economy. Let's the forces of demand and supply determine prices of goods and the supplies. So I'm happy the government has finally freed the naira. What I expect to happen now is that majority of people that have a lot of Nigerians have monies outside the country. Not necessarily all those monies are stolen, but they just cannot do business in an environment that is not conducive. So let's hope now most of the people that have money outside will bring those funds in to come and do business, and that will automatically drive the dollar rate down, and then the economy will pick up.
On the anti-corruption war by the government, people say it has been one-sided. Do you also, toe that line?
On two ways.
Okay.
I won't say it's one-sided. Why? Because the PDP was in government for 16 years. It is expected that this is the first time power at the center is changing from one party to the other. So the new party would always tend to investigate those that were in government in the last one. However, we have government officials who served in these 16 years, who there are petitions against, who there are evidences against, who have stolen our commonwealth and are still part of the government. I would have expected Mr. President not to spare anybody in this anti-corruption war. But I mean, a very good example is the case of a former chief of army staff, who so many evidences have been given. Even the present chief of army staff, we have to investigate them. Let Nigerians have a semblance of the fact that you don't have any sacred cow. But that's not the case now. So that's why you tend to see majority of Nigerians saying, why is witch hunting, facing the opposition in general. Let it be an all-encompassing holistic crusade.
Okay, well, our viewers, I've been speaking with Mr. Segun Adebiyi on tackles this day, and we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll still be looking at some other things that affect the country as a whole. Alright, you're welcome back. It's Two Tackles today on OSBC TV. My guest is Mr. Segun Adebiyi. He's very much into construction. Okay, we have looked at some things, talking about economy, basically. I want us to look at one other area that is of concern right now. And I must tell you, this is just not good. It boils down to security and insecurity, as we want to put it. But this time around, not even Boko Haram, in that regard. But people just attacking so-called extremists everywhere. They just attack people. You look at the case of what happened in Abuja, the woman that was killed, going about and things like that. This thing seems to be coming in pockets like that everywhere, in the country again. Does it really look like we are going back to what we used to experience in the northern part of Nigeria, where we have a religious, war and things like that?
Yes. When we talk of extremists, I want to take the issue of the Fulani herdsmen first. I personally would not believe these are Fulani herdsmen. I want to believe these are some of the renegades that the Nigerian military has forced out of their territories, and who one way or the other wants to see inflict pains on innocent citizens, because Fulani may have been living in our midst for God knows when.
For long,
I will see them on major roads with their herds of cattle going gently without any weapon or anything, and all of a sudden we see Fulani men carrying AK-47. I think the federal government has not really responded to that particular area. On the extremists, it's a religious issue. It's sad, especially the case of the woman that went to preach around Cuba in Abuja last week. And the story I heard about the woman was that wasn't even the first time she was going to be engaging in propagating a religious message and all that. So government needs to put all these things. For instance, those that killed that particular woman should be brought to book to serve as a deterrent to people that. Another one happened in Kano just about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. You know, such things are beginning to get very rampant. The government needs to really focus on arresting that and before it degenerates.
You know, but you know, a lot of fingers have actually been pointed to the president as regards the Fulani herdsmen. You know, because he is, of course, from the north as well, and you just suddenly see a lot of different things coming about. There was a picture on social media recently when cows that were taken through the pedestrian bridge. You know, in Abuja. You know, and people say, okay, this is the same Abuja that Okada riders are banned. But cows are not allowed to ply. I mean, you know, looking at it from this angle, why do you think the presidency is not really coming out to say something or to probably address this issue once and for all? If those guys are Fulani or if they are not, let them be handled properly the way it should be, instead of them, you know, killing people.
Like I said, there was an incident when Governor Olam Adesina was governor of Oyo State, and there was an issue between the Fulani people and the Yoruba people around Kishi or somewhere around Okeogun, where the current president had to lead the delegation of Northerners to go and mediate and find out why such incidents were recurring. I would have expected someone who went out of his way, that time, to right now, because the words from the president's mouth holds a lot of importance. It doesn't necessarily mean Mr. President has to say, hey, carry guns and go and shoot those people. Things the president says, it goes a lot of way to sway people's mind to say, yes, this is a fair assessment of what's going on. So I expect a task statement from the president to condemn the activities of these Fulani herdsmen, and then we have cattle roaming, and I saw some around the federal secretariats. We have foreigners, a lot of foreigners doing business in Abuja. It doesn't augur well for the image of the country. Something needs to be very done very urgently. And then secondly, they've been talking about ranches and all that. Yes, the cows, herds of cattle and all that are predominantly more up north, not here in the south. Those are the few aspects you see in the south are those that come here on pasturing and all that. So if ranches are supposed to be created for them where the base of the heads of cattle are, why not? I think the northern government should cooperate with the government to establish these ranches, and then we'll move on from there. The southern part of the country is getting very intolerant to activities of the Fulani herdsmen. We all know what happened in Enugu. Some people were arrested. We have not had anything since they were arrested. So government should pay more attention to this. It's a security threat.
You know, it's of much concern when this is much ravaging in the food basket of the nation. Talking about Benue State, you know, we saw what has happened in Benue State. It is not really palatable.
It's not
you know, the way everything has happened there. You remember how much you know, food products come out of that particular state. Right now, whether we like it or not, you know, I was listening to the special advisor to the governor of Benue State on a particular station, saying that whether we like it or not, what has happened in Benue State would affect
to create a gap.
Production.
It's only natural. There will be a gap, and most of these crops are perishable. They are not crops. I mean, take for instance, the moment you exhume cassava from the floor, it starts counting. It's carcinogenic, and then it doesn't see the shelf life is just about 12 to 24 hours. So, but most of these crops, sorghum and all these things that come from Benue are perishable products, and are also raw materials for the majority of our beverage companies in Lagos. So definitely there will be a gap, which is the more reason why even some of these governors should take the bull by the horn. They are the chief security officers of their respective states. We don't expect the president to attend to all the problems that is bedeviling every part of the country. So I think the governors should, they should, as a particular governor in the Southwest that once said, I've forgotten what he said, that he was going to poison the water that the cattle were drinking and all that. So such things should happen from our northern government.
You know, I think I heard that from the governor in Ekiti State, and also the governor from Kwara State said he doesn't want ranches as well. Yeah. You know, Ahmed Dabo Fatah. You know, looking at all of these things, you know, coming together. You know, but before we go on the program, I want you to quickly look at this. You know, still relating to that as well. You know, the president and the presidency have said, okay, go back to farm. Even recently, some traditional rulers met with him and he said, go and tell your people to go back to farm. And people are beginning to ask, how do we go about all of these things? You know, I don't know if you share our view. You know, going back to farm, it has become a language in Nigeria right now. But just very few numbers of people are really going back.
Let me give an instance of cocoa, for instance, in the Southwest. There was a time Nigeria was number 1 or 2 highest cocoa producer in the world. Today we are number 4 or 5. Gambia, Ghana, and 2 other countries started after us. But they have all surpassed the production of Nigeria. Look at palm oil. The first palm fruits that were planted in Malaysia were taken from Nigeria. Around 1970 something. Today, the highest revenue earner for Malaysia, apart from tourism, is palm oil. What's has suddenly gone wrong? You understand? So it goes beyond the government telling people to go back to farm. One, you can't tell hungry people to go back to farm. You can't tell people that cannot guarantee their salaries at the end of the month to go back to farm. You can't, just like somebody was telling me say that, what is wrong with Nigerians? Can't we even carry placards and protest about what our leaders are doing and all that? I said, hungry people don't carry placards. What if stray bullets hits them while they were carrying the placards? You understand? So government also has a very major role to play in moving everybody back to the farm. When I say the farm, going to your backyard and planting few tomato bunches and all that is very easy. But when we talk of commercial quantity, the governments, the peasant farmers don't even have the funds and the wherewithal to do the clearing, do the cultivation and all that. This is where the government needs to come in. You understand? We've seen in the past that some governments tried it. The farmers did not come out to even come and plant. Then the bushes and everything came up together again. So the government needs to also show the will. And demonstrate
the former president Olusegun just said that the government doesn't have any business in agri-business.
No, they do. It's just like oil. NNPC, for instance, is not the only. NNPC does not. They are just JV partners to the IOCs. They regulate. DPR is there. DPR does not sell crude oil. There have to be regulatory agencies. What is FADAMA doing? How do we revitalize FADAMA? What is AMTI, the learning doing? How do we produce our tools locally? What is NCAM, National Center for Agricultural Mechanization, doing? How do we locally produce all of the machines? Then what is the government doing about indigenous manufacturers of the machines that we use for food processing? We have one in Oshobo here, who owns Ripples Hotel. What is the government doing to help such entrepreneurs? They produce these machines locally, they produce dryers and all that locally. But what is the government doing to assist them? So the government still has a very, very major role to play. It's very easy to till the land and put your crop and then it grows. But it's not in the quantity we are looking at raising agricultural contribution to our GDP. Maybe about 70%. Today we are just about 18 to 20 or so percent. So oil that we are shouting about contributes only about I think about 55% to our GDP. So that tells you a balance can still be struck if the government is very serious. It's easy for me to tell you that you go to farm, go and plant a tomato, go and plant maize. But if the will, you tell me to go and plant, where's your own farm? Where's your own farm? Where are all our farm settlements that we had since after independence? Where are they today? They've all been sold, they've all been converted to private, So these are the things the government needs to. Where is the assurance for the farmers, for cassava for instance? The government will give them that, okay, once you plant and you want to harvest, you can be sure that you have returns for your. That's not there. Most of the farmers leave their cassava in the land, get spoiled there, and they start another season. So this is where government needs to go and those into poultry and animal husbandry and all that. What is wrong? You had 5 pence last year. This year you have only 1 pen. What is the problem? Oh, my chicken, they were dying. They are doing the. What do we do? Research. What are our research centers doing? We have in Ibadan alone. We have about 12 agricultural research institutes there. Yeah. What are they doing?
Wow, viewers, well, I want to believe that you have looked at some things, as we discussed them on the program today, Tacos. My guest has been Mr. Segun Adebiyi, of course, the MD of Adebiyi Construction here in Osogbo. I want to say thank you so much for coming on the program today. And until next time when I shall come your way again, my name is Deji Adefila. Have a good time. Bye-bye.